Good Monday to everybody. This is September 29th, 2025. I'm here, my happy place, Huntington Beach. I'm on the pier. I just finished my walk, but I didn't walk on the sand because I injured my knee. I fell at home, which is really pathetic to admit, but I fell at home getting out of bed, believe it or not. I didn't realize I was so close to the edge. Fell out of my bed last Monday, hit my head on the wooden frame around my bed, and landed on my left knee, which had surgery before. So today's a week and I wanted to walk, so I didn't walk in the sand. I just walked on the walkway and it feels pretty good. I walked up the steps. It feels pretty good. So this is Huntington Beach, California, Orange County, and they are getting ready way down there for the Pacific Air Show. There was some controversy at the city council. People didn't want to have it back, but it's back, and the fences have gone around. All the flyers, the banners are out, and the general admission is $35, October 3rd to the 5th. So today is actually my birthday, and so I'm walking at the beach thinking of my mother. It's also her birthday. We had the same birthday. She was having a party. She was getting ready to go to church, and she was going to the outhouse, and I felt like they were preparing for a party, and I don't want to miss a good party, so that's when I came out and kind of ruined her birthday. But I joined her party 68 years ago, and I'm here. We immigrated here in 1970 in Huntington Beach, so there's a special place in my heart for Huntington Beach, and I do come out here to walk regularly. I love to hear the ocean. I love to see the waves, to feel the sun on my face, and the wind, the little breeze, and the sand between my toes. So this is my birthday day. I'll just celebrate for a week, at least a month, whatever. It's the time of year I can be selfish, right? It's my birthday and I'll do whatever I want. So yesterday, Sunday, was it Sunday? Yes, Sunday. It was a very long day. Yesterday was the Komen walk, and it's very different now. It's not a real 5K walk competitively. They used to have like tens of thousands of people come and actually do the 5K run, and the survivors would walk for about a mile, and I would go back and forth and take a bunch of pictures. And I haven't gone to the Komen walk in a very, very long time, and I just was so compelled to go yesterday. Yesterday. Can't keep track of the days. And there was a lot of pink, so I had kind of a melancholy sadness about that for many reasons. And I was able to meet some women who were still freshly diagnosed, still going through treatment. There was this one Filipino lady that I kind of, I don't know, I was just drawn to her, and I sat next to her, and she waited too long to get treatment. She is getting treatment now for stage 4 metastatic breast cancer at Kaiser, and she isn't married. She lives alone. Her 2 kids are kind of at a distance from her, and I just sat next to her and just listened to her story, and then after a while I just asked her if I could pray for her, and she was like, oh yes, of course. So I prayed for her, and I stuck by her for the event, and she was just so appreciative of, you know, my friendliness and the, you know, that's just how we are as Filipinos. And she just was very grateful, and I told her my story, and so she really was inspired by that story too. And then at the event, they have this kind of a little bit of a parade for the survivors, and they release 3 boxes of doves in the air, and you know, a lot of people were kind of tearful. That's always a very tender moment for us survivors for some reason. And right behind me was this taller lady, and she was bald, and she had peach fuzz on her hair, and she saw my sign, and she got really teared up. And she was about my age. She was probably a little bit younger, maybe between 28 to 32 when she got diagnosed, and she's still fresh in treatment, very, very emotional. And she was much taller than I am, but I went and hugged her, and she just put her head on my shoulders, and she had to bend over because I was much shorter than she was, and she just started crying. And I just held her and put my right hand over her neck and over her bald peach fuzz head, and I told her, you're going to be okay. And you know, just held her. I just held her, and she just was weeping, and she just held on to me. And so long ago, when I was 32 and I was diagnosed, and they said, you know, I was probably going to die in at least 2 years. This would come back and kill me. And I said, well, what do you have for me if this thing comes back? And they didn't have anything stronger. In 1990, they barely had anything. I mean, I was given Compazine and Ativan. They didn't have Zolfran. They didn't have the DNA sequenced yet. They didn't have HER2/neu. They didn't have a lot of the medications that they had 5 years later. 5 years later, the DNA was sequenced, and they had HER2/neu, and they had all kinds of genetic testing and all kinds of stuff just starting 5 years after me. But it wouldn't have helped me if I had died, obviously. But I started going to a support group. I was 32, and I was the youngest. So this is 1990. 1991, that's when Komen started in Orange County. So I started helping them with their fundraisers in American Cancer Society and St. Joseph's Circle of Life. I was in everything cancer related for decades. And eventually I noticed the women started to get younger. You know, it was 1 in 8 women were going to get breast cancer in their lifetime, and then eventually it was starting to creep to 1 in 7 in their lifetime. And so I was just, you know, passionate about raising money for the research and treatment and all of that. We just were mobilized, you know, when you face death, you know, you just want to contribute somehow to the future generations, the women coming after me. And so we were just mobilized. I was in everything. And eventually I started to see 28-year-olds coming into support groups, 26-year-olds coming into the support groups, 24-year-olds coming to the support group. Breast cancer usually is a cancer of postmenopausal women, 55 and above. And now they were in the 90s coming down to 24, 26. And at one 5K Suji Komen event I was at, there was this woman who stood up who was the oldest, and she was 90 years old. And then they also had this girl who was diagnosed at 10 years old. And she was at that time, I think, 12. So she was 2 years out, 10. why is a girl 10 years old getting diagnosed with breast cancer? Is it all the hormones that we're pumping into the meat, the chickens, the cows? She's drinking it from the milk. What is going on? I was like, what? 10-year-old? A 10-year-old girl had to go through all of that aggressive treatment for breast cancer. So something was really, really wrong. So I thought, we just have to pour money in, right? I didn't know anything about alternative care. I didn't know about preventative stuff. I didn't know about the propaganda and the pharmacy mill and the medical model that just keeps churning you, spit you out, churning you into the system. I didn't know all that. I just knew that I was desperate also to find the answer. So we just kept fundraising and pouring money into everything. So I went yesterday. I'm 35 years out, and I'm thinking, I'm looking around at the sea of pink, and everybody is, rah-rah, hoping that all these women will have longevity and survivorship. And I'm thinking, what have we done with all this money? Before, they used to raise millions at that race, millions, like tens of thousands of people would be going up and down the hills of Fashion Island, and we would raise millions of dollars for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Then later found out these organizations, these nonprofits, if you see how much the CEOs make, they were making like 400. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I just fundraised so that we could help pay the CEOs and all the top leadership of an organization. And so you have to check the nonprofits that you're pouring money into. So, like even American Cancer Society, how much of that money actually goes to research funding, treatment support? Very little. So I just stopped. I continued to support Healing Odyssey because I knew that organization. We started that nonprofit, and none of us made a penny. We poured out our resources of time, blood, sweat, and tears, and our own finance to keep that organization going, because everything, at least 75% of that money we raised went into the programs for the women's retreat, and none of us got a penny. And so we volunteers were just in it for the noble cause of helping empower women cancer survivors. And so that was just a great organization. I stuck with them. But I looked at the women yesterday, and I thought, did we find billions of dollars, right? Are we curing anybody? Are we curing? Do we know it causes breast cancer? Do we know how to prevent breast cancer? Or are we just funding the pharmaceuticals and putting money into their 10, 20 year billion-dollar research for the next chemo, the next pill, the next whatever? And so this is why I quit nursing a long time ago. I think 2000. Went back to, because it was just a revolving door. I wasn't seeing cure for diabetes. I wasn't seeing cure for any of the chronic debilitating diseases, especially the neurological disease, the cardiovascular disease. What were we actually curing in the hospitals? And I was just disillusioned, and I quit and went to, I said, I got to get them from the front end, not from the back end, because we were in the back end. So we would just patch them up and spit them out, and they go back to their diabetes and their cardiovascular disease, do the same thing, and then we get them back in. It was just a revolving door. I said, what could I do to get them from the front end, to get them so that they change their lifestyle, do some preventative care, so that they don't come back into the revolving door of allopathic medicine. And so that's what I did. And then, of course, the crash in 2007 and 8, I had to go back to nursing, and I was doing both still until I retired. And so I just want to ask for all of those people that are still pouring money into these causes. And yes, there are good causes, but what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing for your family to increase your chances of optimal health? Exercise and diet. Yeah, we have tons and tons of books about diet, the blue zones, how to live longer, how to live like an Okinawan or a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, you don't live in Okinawa and you're not a Seventh-day Adventist, so what are you going to do? So everybody was focusing, and I was going to a lot of seminars, and it was about diet. You gotta eat. You got to juice, you got to be vegan, you got to eat vegetables, and you don't eat meat, and everybody has their thing, their this is it, you got to be vegan, you can't have gluten, you don't eat this, you don't eat that, and go through this. Well, that may work for you. It's quite a discipline, and I know it's very difficult to stay on a very rigid discipline. And I did join a medical clinic, and they put me on a keto diet, and I lost 9 pounds, and it was extremely rigid. It was, you couldn't eat with your friend, you couldn't go out to eat with your friends, and I just really, when you just so constrain people's lives that way, it's very difficult to maintain that. So what is the secret? I just don't think there is a secret. I don't think there is this one thing. It's multifactorial. Yes, move it. God made this body to be in movement. We were working in the farms, we were working in the fields, we were working in the sun, and when the sun started to go down, we didn't have incandescent light or whatever, we had to start going in, we had to start winding down, having an early dinner, read and be with your family, and then go to bed early and rise up early. So that was how we used to live a long time ago, a long time ago. And it is the body, mind, spirit. So I gave this talk a long time ago to a cancer support group, and there were a lot of things that I had shared that were really important. That Greg Anderson wrote this book called The Cancer Conquerors. Very simple book. He, if I can remember his story, he had lung cancer, and they had removed, one side of his lung. He only had the other side of his lung, and they basically said, okay, just go home. You've got 3 months to live, or you're going to die within 3 months, and so go home and enjoy your life with your family, or whatever it is that they said to him. So he goes home, and he's looking at his family, he's looking at his daughter, and he's like, is this it? I'm just supposed to sit here and wait until I just, die of this lung cancer, just wait for death to come and get me. So he looked at his daughters. I think his daughter was still young, and he said, there's got to be people. There has got to be people out there that they said, you're going to die in 3 months or whatever. And that's what they told me, you're going to die in 2 years or whatever. And there's got to be these people that survive. Why? And there's got to be people who were supposed to survive, and they died. So why? So he went on this quest to go find the remaining of his time. He was going to talk to these people that defied the odds, and they had these bad prognosis. And what is it? What was the common? What did they have in common that they actually survived? So one of them was, and I'll try to remember some of them, but I'll just tell you some of the things that I can remember. One of them was that they believed in a higher power. We'll just say God. So they believed in a higher power, a God, somebody that created this world, and it was benevolent, and so they did believe in a higher power or a God. Okay, they believed in purpose in life. Their life had purpose. So I think there was this one guy, and he was supposed to, he was sentenced to die. And his garage, he didn't want to leave his to fix the garage. I don't know, I don't remember, was it leaking or whatever, but there was an issue with the garage. And so he said, I need to fix this so that they'll be okay. My wife doesn't have to call for handyman or whatever. So he embarks on this quest to fix this garage. So he finishes that, and he's still living. Okay, he had a purpose. And it's like, okay, well, there's a leak in the roof. I should fix that too, because I don't want to leave my family in this lurch and have them, worry about this roof. And I'm going to make sure I leave them in good condition with this roof. So he goes on, and he goes and fixes his roof. And so he continues on, and he has a purpose. Yeah, he believes in God. He has his purpose to fix his house, his garage, his roof, and he continues to live, and he does defy the odds. And so he believed in God. He had a purpose, and then these people had participated in their medical process, meaning that they weren't so passive and morose and and I've met women like this. Well, they get mad at me for asking so many questions and, not doing the research. And I realize, not everybody is the same. Everybody's different. And so they participated. So they knew, they would ask questions, they would do the research. And believe me, I not only just did all my research and read the PDR, and I went to 3 different centers interviewing a team that would work for me. So they participated in their decision-making process with the physicians. They weren't, okay, the doctor said I have this and the treatment is this, and so I will just acquiesce and just follow whatever the doctors say. So they believed in God, they had a purpose in their life, and they actively participated in the decision-making of their medical treatment plan, okay? They also believed in their doctors and their hospitals, and they trusted in them. And so that's what I had to do too. So I went to 3 centers, and I chose the team that was going to work for me. They were going to listen to my voice, and they were going to do what I had certain requirements. So they believed in God. They had a sense of purpose. They participated and were not passive in their medical decision making. They believed in their doctors, their hospitals, and they had trust in that team. And they participated actively in that decision making process. So he found out that they had more in common. I just can't think of it right now. So I presented this to a support group, and they were just enthralled. They're like, oh my gosh. I'm not saying that this is the only answer. I'm just saying that there's more than just exercise, juice everything. I know centers like the Gershwin. I went down to Tijuana and toured 7 of these medical clinics that the doctors were curing patients of cancer, and so they were terrorized by the feds, the SWAT, whatever. They removed their licenses, they removed their treatments, drugs and protocol, and so they had to go down to Tijuana and build these clinics, and I toured about 7 of them, and they're great. So is it just juicing? Is it just exercising? It's everything, okay? Because you are not just a body, your body, spirit, your emotional, mental, and then there's a big thing about your mental and emotional state, the stress, okay? I know people that were so healthy on an exercise plan, super athletic, ate very healthy, they were thin, they barely had fat on their bodies, and they got sick, they got diseases, they had heart attacks, all this stuff. Why? What didn't they have? What is the one thing they didn't take care of? Is the stress, okay? Your mental and emotional state. So there's a lot of components in what makes a whole person, okay? So we have to look at all of that, and it's balance in these areas. It's like if you are the camera and the camera's on a tripod, if one of those legs is off or teetering, that whole organism, that whole camera's going to go down. So it isn't just diet, it isn't just exercise, it isn't just, but it's a whole totality of what makes you you. Okay, so you have to look at all aspects of your life. You know, what areas of your life are you neglecting to have peace? Are you sleeping? Sleep is very regenerative, restorative. It's that's where your body is doing its scavenging of the old cells, taking out the trash. It's when your army's out there patrolling, it's your sentries out there patrolling, looking for foreign invaders, and there's always foreign invaders, and so they got to take those guys out too. So, and I'm not saying that I'm the most healthy. I just do try, and it's you know, the balance is teetering constantly, because since chemo I've not been a good sleeper. So that's where I have an Achilles weakness in that area. Wish I could sleep really, really well, but since chemo, my brain's just sort of gotten off balance, and my memory, my sharpness, my intelligence, my ability to recall everything is no longer like that. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, I'm still doing pretty well for somebody my age, but I used to actually be much brighter. I used to function so much better and just was so much sharper and more intelligent. But that's anyways, it is what it is. So you have to look at your life and see what areas need to be reinforced. Look at your lifestyle, basically. So I was an acupuncturist, and my goal was to teach my patients lifestyle skills so that they wouldn't need me anymore. So, you know, their blood pressure, you know, all kinds of stuff. I've had cancer. I've had patients that had peripheral neuropathy from chemo. I treated them and restored them. They were able to do their 5Ks or whatever it is that they were doing. So it's just really restoring the organism to optimal wholeness. But again, I can only do so much as you know, as a practitioner of acupuncture and herbs. The rest, I would give them homework, because you know, you come to see me once or twice a week, and you take my herbs, I give you acupuncture. The rest of the time I'm not with you, so you do have to have homework. You have to participate in your wellness program. And also, another thing that I forgot to tell you was they felt that they had really good social support, these people that defied the odds. So does that mean that you have to go to a support group? I was going to 2 support groups, and I thought I was going to go to support group to help other people, but it was helping me too. You can belong to a church group, or maybe your family is very supportive of you, but as long as you have a good network of support that you feel that they are supporting you. So I forgot to say that earlier on, so my brain is recalling some of these things. So so that is what I wanted to impart to some of you, because it was, you know, it was a reminder of God's hand on my life, and he's been walking beside me, keeping an eye on me. And this is, you know, I was in the world, I was, you know, studying with all these other religions, and I really was mostly in Paramahansa Yogananda's temples and doing all kinds of Eastern kind of stuff. And I'd go to Catholic church when my family would go, and I studied with Jehovah's Witness. I studied with the Mormons for an hour, and you know, my friend was Seventh-day Adventist. I just studied whoever wanted to share their beliefs with me. I was very, very open until I heard a pastor say, "Why are you following these people like Buddha and all these people that died, and they never were resurrected because they were just purely human. And Jesus is the only one that died, and he was resurrected after 3 days, and he came. I mean, he was still on earth. There's records of all these people that saw him after he had been buried in the tomb, and that just made an impact on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Why am I following a man who died and never came back? So he couldn't be God, and Jesus is the only person that did that. So that's when I became baptized as a born-again Christian when I was 55. But I had gotten cancer when I was 32, and God still had his hand on my life. He never was far from me. I was very, very far from God. I thought there were many ways to heaven. I thought there was many ways to be a good person, many ways to do good works, and that's what was needed. So, I was, let's all get along, and everybody has their way, their religion, their philosophy, their ideology. We should just get along, and we'll get to heaven our way. But and I wasn't a believer, and I think that God waited for me, to save me. So those are the things that I can recall that the survivors had in common. They believed in a higher power, God. They had a sense of purpose in their lives. So get out there and serve. Have some purpose in your life. They participated actively in their medical decision-making process. They believed and trusted their doctor, their hospital, the people that were taking care of them. That's really important. That's really give you mental peace. They had a sense of a good, strong social support. Now, in that book, and those people that he interviewed that were survivors that defied the odds, they didn't talk about their exercise regimen. They didn't talk about their diet and the regimen. So these things that I've just shared with you, they did not talk about that. I'm not saying that's not important. Let it go. I'm saying yes, that's important, but you got to look at the other aspects too. So don't focus on just one thing. It is God made us to be whole and complete, and he wants us blessed in all areas of our lives, and he wants us healthy in all areas of our life: physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, social, financial. So how you find peace in that will help you with stress. How you manage it. I never say to people, get rid of your stress. I think the only way you get rid of your stress is when you're just out of here. You are going to have stress. You're going to have trials and tribulations. It's how do you manage it? How do you manage it? That's the key. If you're Chicken Little, the sky's falling every single day, that's a hyper state of alarm. That's a lot of cortisol. That's a lot of stress. And you're just burning your body, destroying your self-destructive mode. And I kind of run like that sometimes because I'm a little bit hyper. So there are things that I do that help me, going to the Vintage for karaoke with friends, going out, meeting friends to dance. I used to dance. I walk here at the beach. It's gorgeous. I walk in the sand. I do have bubble baths. I walk. I do eat clean. I do eat well, but it's not a prison. It's not a prisoner. It's not a prison sentence for me. It's, I like cake. I like ice cream. But do I have that all the time? No, I don't. But, I had never told my patients they couldn't have something, because as soon as I told them, you got to cut out cake and ice cream, that's your brain is craving that. So you have to be careful. It's a lot of mental work too. You have to change your your thoughts, take captive all your thoughts. You have to change it into the positive. So, if my patient said, I'm tired of being fat, Dr. Gay, can you help me? I'm sick and tired of being fat. I help them to change that to, Dr. Gay, can you help me have more vitality, have more energy, and be more fit? So the tone of that language is different from, Dr. Gay, I'm fat. Oh, I can't tried everything, every single diet, and I can't lose weight. How about let's first change the frequency and thinking in your head, because that is a command to every single cell in your body. So you have to start there. Remember, you're not just one thing, you're a whole organism. And so I'm just here, just hoping that those ladies that were wearing pink yesterday, I wish I could have gotten a microphone or a megaphone or something, a bullhorn, and talk to them. But they're raising money for research. Probably a lot of that is going to be paying the salary for the executive leaderships. I know they have to have money, but do you have to have that much money if you're really wanting to help find the cure? There's more that they could do. Actually, they could have a lot more other programs. And yeah, I know they do contribute money for women who are underfunded and they need rent, or they need a mammogram, or they need this or that. But they also need a lot of other programs, and maybe I'll write them a letter someday and come talk to them or something. I was the longest living survivor. I talked to a lot of people. I talked to somebody who was 32-year survivor. I was 35-year survivor. I'm older. 28-year survivor. And people who are just going through it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, whatever. My heart's just wrenched for them. So if somebody in your family has cancer, or you just listen to what I said and really just try to find some optimism, because this isn't, you're still not sentenced to that prison of diagnosis and prognosis. You can still work in your mind. In my mind, I saw 90. Every time I saw 90. Every time I went to chemo and this terrible red adriamycin was opened up and it was I didn't even have Portacat. It was going into my vein, and everybody just puked. Everybody just had horrible side effects. Well, I accepted that thing as an ally to my defense. And as soon as it hit my vein, I visualized Ms. Pac-Man just gobbling up all the cancer cells. And we were at the Gulf War, and my oncologist was Schwarzkopf, I think his name was. He was sending all kinds of planes and missiles, artillery over the Gulf War, and so I did a lot of mental stuff. When I sat in my chemo, it was an internal battle, and I was winning because I saw 90. I was going to live to 90. I don't know if I'm going to live to 90, but that's what I was given. That's what was put in my head. And Ms. Pac-Man just gobbled. And so what happened to me, I had less severe side effects from the chemo than everybody else, because everybody saw it differently, and I made it work for me. It was an ally. That red Everybody's freaking out over the Adriamycin. It was bright red. It's coming down the tube. Everybody was already psychologically disarmed. And I just went in there. I'm like, so here's the routine. I had a friend pick me up. We would go to lunch. We celebrated before I went to chemo. So we go to lunch. I'd start pre-hydration. I had a liter. I was drinking iced tea, whatever. I was already pre-hydrating at my celebration lunch before going to chemo. Then they would drop me off because that took a long time. And so I'd be in there and I'd do my mental work. So the chemo's coming in and I was engaged mentally. Miss Pac-Man, artillery, Scud missiles. It was like search and rescue, search and retrieve, get rid of the garbage. That was all going on in my body while I was sitting there with the Adriamycin, which was bright red, that everybody just saw the red and just freaked out. I saw the red and I'm like, all right, we're going to battle. We're going to battle because I have to live to be 90. So these are just some of the things that I did. My hair is going to fall out. I have very long hair. My oncologist says every time he saw me, he goes, yeah, you got to cut your hair. So I cut it a little bit. Yeah, you got to cut your hair. You're going to lose it all. Yeah, you cut your hair. And after the first dose, it was like November. If I shook my head, it just rained hair. And that just reminded me of death. That reminded me of cancer. That reminded me of powerlessness. And so how was I going to take back my power? How was I going to be empowered? Because every time I did this, it just rained hair. So I felt powerless. So I went over to my dad's house. And I said, Dad had the shears, and he would give the boys haircuts and stuff. And I said, Dad, could you shave my head? He's like, what? I said, yeah, just shave my hair. It's raining hair. And it was really disturbing, Who wants to be reminded every day that your hair is on your pillow, it's in the bathroom, it's everywhere. So I said, I'm going to take matters into my own hands to shave it. Shave my hair. I would wear really colorful scarves and big earrings, and everybody thought that I was this, Queen of the Nile kind of person, really, ethnic, colorful scarves with the big, bold, hanging earrings with makeup and lipstick, and I did not look sick. So I'm not saying all of my efforts were the secret sauce, but I'm just saying that and my mental state and God looking over me, because I was far away from God. It took two friends 20 years to plant seeds, and I became a born-again Christian in 2012. So that took forever for them to get me in. So today is my birthday. I just wanted to help people because that really touched me yesterday, seeing these pink ladies, bald ladies, metastatic cancers. I pray they get well. I pray they get healed and they have vitality and energy and they stay positive. And if you know anybody that is a cancer survivor is going through it, if you could just pray for them and give them emotional support and help them find ways to stay positive, that is something that you could really do. So anyways, I know I'm long-winded today, but it's my birthday, so I could say anything I wanted, right? So this is Huntington Beach, my happy place, and I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy that God has spared my life. God's got his hand over me, and last time I was here, I was asking God, what do you want me to do? Where are you sending me? I'd like to, be equipped for whatever it is that you're going to be sending me to next. And he just keeps saying, be still and know that I am God. That this is a season to be married, to sit at his feet, and to just be ministered to. He will heal me. He will strengthen me, and He will guide my steps. So this is all that I wish for all of you, is to have the brightness of positivity on your life, to find the good in everything and everyone, to have peace in your heart, and have good sleep, and to hand over your burdens to God. And if it's too heavy, then have people that will come alongside you and help you with the burden, and will walk beside you and help you, and that you are not meant to do life alone. God did not make us to be alone, but to have people beside us to help us. And you be the light, you be the salt and light in the darkness of this world, and you lift somebody up. You lift somebody up today, and it will just improve your countenance. Because I had very, very depressed patients when they used to come to me, Dr. Gay, I'm so depressed. And one of the things I would give them homework, and everybody had homework. Oh my gosh, I gave people all kinds of homework. And one of the things I had my depressed patients do was go and volunteer. And there's one grandmother, I had assigned her to go to St. Joe's or Chalk to be one of those grandmas that held these crack babies, because that just improved their purpose, their countenance, and they got better so much faster, because they had something to do. And just touching those babies and having the healing touch of a human being on their life was beneficial, both for the neonate and for the person that was applying the healing touch. So lift somebody up, and you will be lifted up as well. So have a great day, have a great Monday, have a great week. And I'm speaking.
You do a good selfie?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.
Have a good day.